The galaxy was full of species, each with their own histories, ambitions, and power struggles. But the one thing every species had in common was fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unpredictable. And there was nothing more unpredictable than humanity. Evans stood at the center of the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, his calm demeanor hiding the storm that brewed just beneath the surface. The Council's leaders, aliens of varying species, looked upon him with a mix of curiosity and disdain. Humans were still considered primitive by most of the galactic powers. Their brutal wars, their unpredictable emotions, and their strange need to protect even the most fragile of their kind, all baffled the higher minds of the Council. Elizabeth, his partner and diplomatic aide, stood quietly at his side. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, noting every shift in posture and every flicker of suspicion. She had been with Evan for years, and she knew him better than anyone. She knew that beneath his calm exterior lay a man capable of far more than anyone in this room could imagine. The Council had summoned Evan for a simple meeting, something that, on the surface, appeared as a gesture of goodwill. The humans had been making waves, with their technology advancing at a rate no one had anticipated, and their militaristic edge giving them a place at the galactic table. But the Council had a far more sinister plan in mind. They hoped to humiliate Evan, to show him and his people just how outclassed they were. The plan was simple disrespect, a little push, and a subtle reminder of the power the Council held over the galaxy. But what the Council didn't realize was that they were not dealing with a diplomat. They were dealing with a soldier. A human soldier who had fought wars across the stars, who had seen things that would make most of them tremble, and who had learned the deadly art of patience. Evan's hands rested lightly on the armrests of his chair. His fingers twitched ever so slightly, a signal to Elizabeth. She was the only one who understood the gestures. She knew what it meant. The trap had been set. All they needed was the slightest provocation. One of the Council members, a reptilian species known as the Zarther, stood up, his voice dripping with condescension. "We welcome the human diplomat," he said, his tone mocking. "It is rare we get the privilege of speaking to a species that has yet to evolve beyond basic warfare." The room grew still as the Zarther's words hung in the air. Evan's eyes narrowed, but he didn't speak. He let the silence stretch. The Zarther, sensing victory, continued, "Perhaps we should offer you a lesson in how real civilization is built, one without the need for primitive weapons." That was the moment. Without a word, Evan stood. The energy in the room shifted. He didn't raise his voice, but his presence was enough. "If you wanted a lesson in civilization," Evan said, his voice calm and even, "you should have studied Earth's history more closely." The Zarther's eyes narrowed. "Is that so?" He sneered. "And what exactly could your species teach us?" Evan's gaze was icy. "That civilization isn't just about technology, and it certainly isn't about power. It's about survival. It's about the ability to rise above what you think is possible. Humans have been doing that since the dawn of our species. We survive because we adapt, and we adapt because we never stop fighting. So, if you're looking for a lesson, I suggest you learn that." The Zarther's jaw clenched, and Evan knew the moment had arrived. Without warning, the creature lunged at him, claws extended, a deadly strike aimed at his throat. The Council gasped, and Elizabeth moved in an instant, but Evan was faster. With the fluidity of a seasoned warrior, Evan stepped to the side, his body shifting with a precision that was almost unnatural. He grabbed the Zarther's arm and twisted, throwing the alien across the room with a strength that belied his human frame. The sound of the Zarther hitting the wall echoed through the chamber, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Elizabeth didn't move, but she was already calculating the next steps. She knew Evan had only just begun. The rest of the Council members froze, eyes wide. For the first time, they saw it, the true power of humanity. It wasn't just in their strength or their technology. It was in their unyielding will to survive and their ability to strike when others least expected it. "Your actions have consequences," Evan said, his voice unwavering. He turned to the rest of the Council, his eyes scanning each member. "You may think you have the power to crush us, but you don't understand what it means to be human. Every time you try to push us down, we rise. Every time you think you've beaten us, we learn how to fight back. The silence was broken only by the sound of the Zarthur groaning from where he lay. The alien slowly got up, glaring at Evan, but there was no more bravado in his eyes. The other members of the council began to murmur among themselves, the once sure walls of their superiority starting to crack. Evan didn't wait for their response. He turned to Elizabeth, signaling that it was time to leave. But as they made their way toward the exit, the leader of the Galactic Council, an ancient being of light known as the Nyrak, spoke. "Human," the Nyrak said, its voice rich with centuries of wisdom, "you are an enigma. We have underestimated your kind for far too long." Evan paused, his back still turned. "You've made that mistake before, and you'll make it again. But next time, you won't get a second chance." Elizabeth followed Evan, her eyes never leaving the council, but her mind was already on what came next. This was only the beginning. As they exited the chamber, a quiet realization spread through the room. The Galaxy Council had just learned that even a single human could change the course of the stars. And when humanity fought back, they didn't just fight for themselves, they fought for their entire species. And for every life they had ever saved. And if the Council didn't understand that yet, they would soon.